Hi, Maurice. Welcome to the
Hi there.
podcast. It's good to see you. We've obviously had a few chats sort of online and whatnot, and I'm aware of your YouTube channel, but it's really good to see you. So, just a little way of introduction. You live in North
Yeah.
Wales. You're an all-round angler. You cover all sorts of topics with your fishing, and you've got a wonderful YouTube channel
Thank
called
you.
Fishing for Bites with
Yeah.
More, which is a great name. So we'll talk
Yep.
about that if we may a bit later. But what I always like to do is find out about where you started fishing.
Yeah.
You know, when it was, when you first fished, you caught your first fish, things
Yeah.
like that. So can you give us a bit of an
Yeah.
outline?
I grew up in Prestatyn, in North Wales, and so I had a couple of cousins who loved fishing, older, and they sort of took me under the wing, and we used to go to I lived right by the beach. We used to go to the beach and a little bit of sea fishing. There's like a cut that runs through Prestatyn along the golf course, and there's a pump house, and at the other side of the pump house there used to be like a pool, and there was always flatties in there. So pretty much, I don't know what my first fish was. I'm a bit gutted about that. I'd love to know. It was either a flatty from there, or we used to walk, back in, this is in like the sort of 80s, late 80s, when kids used to just wander around, didn't they? We used to walk
Yeah,
to ponds in Rill, a big gang of us, and I think maybe roach was the other possible first fish, and back then, like we hardly caught, but we loved it. And I think I've just always had
yeah,
that fascination with water, anything under the water, the insects,
yeah.
everything. So yeah, that's pretty much where it started.
Yeah,
Yeah.
superb. And then, so have you? That's what the 80s that when you started.
Yeah,
Have you?
yeah, would have
Yeah,
been, in the 80s, late
80s,
80s,
yeah,
late 80s, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Bit different. Things have
Oh,
changed.
yeah,
Quite.
yeah, massively.
Yeah,
People, it's mad, like, we used to fish with size 22 hooks, was like, do you know what I mean? And half a pound line,
yeah,
literally hook lengths, And like now, I mean, people are using 60, me, myself included, using size
yep,
16s for things like single maggots, and it's mad. We wouldn't have dared go above a
yeah,
22 for a single maggot. So yeah, things have changed
yeah,
massively. There was no commercials back
yeah.
then, especially as
No.
well, not that I was aware of, and certainly like North Wales, it's more trout, that type of thing,
Game
reservoirs, game
fishing, isn't
fishing,
it?
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, struggled a bit for catching bigger fish, but I just loved it, and then I don't know, I think everybody has a bit of a break when they start drinking 17, and then got back into it again a year later, and really, I'm up and down over the years. I've
Yeah.
fished all my life, but sometimes, and at the minute, I'm probably more passionate than ever. Yeah.
Brilliant. And what's rekindled your interest then, or sort of
Well,
rekindle
I
your
did
passion?
a carp fishing phase, and I really went a bit nuts with that. I ended up fishing 5 nights a week. This one for like nearly a whole year. I did. I think I did
Wow.
over 200 nights in a year. Uh,
Was that to target a particular fish or something, or
it was
or a size?
several venues. It was just I was single and I was just obsessed, and I really got thinking. And then I sort of covered all the local waters, and then I started looking further afield. And I'm not really sure. I wouldn't say burn. I don't like it when people say you burn out. I don't think I burn out. I think
Hmm.
it was more. I just realized the cost of it was getting a bit, and then the time and sort of like starting to travel and the effort doing overnighters and no sleep and
Hmm.
all the rest of it. It was like a combination. So then I kind of went down to like one rod on the side and just me off float fishing and things. And I always loved surface fishing. And then
Yeah.
I suppose it was just before COVID. It wasn't because of COVID, but just before COVID, I met a friend in the school run, and
Yep.
he was talking about fishing, and it just sort of thingied it. And then I joined Limb Anglers, and YouTube as
Yep.
well has become more thingy. And yeah, it's just gone from there, really.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I know Lim Anglers. I haven't. I know the
yeah.
waters. I know members, and I've seen your fishing videos where you've been on. Is it Lim
Limb Vale,
Vale?
yeah,
And got
yeah.
some clonking
Oh,
fish
yeah.
on there.
Spoils you.
Yeah,
Spoils you.
yeah. Well, the only thing I knew about it was that it used to hold or is it the British record
Dwarf,
golden
yeah, I think
orth? I
it still
think.
does. They're not
Yeah,
in there anymore,
yeah.
unfortunately, but it still is the record. But
Ah,
yeah, unfortunately, they've all gone. It's a lovely
yeah.
water. It's yeah, yeah,
And what is it? It's more like tench bream and carp, and some
Yeah.
huge
Oh, yeah.
tench
Like I
and
said,
bream.
it spoils you so much because now to me, and I know I shouldn't say it really, but a £6 tench is average,
Is it?
which is a bit
Wow.
crazy, isn't it? But yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I fished there. I've had like 20 runs in, well, I did 24 hours, but most of the runs probably came in about 12 hours. I had 20 runs, and it was
Mm.
like sixes, sevens, eights, £10 bream, carp, up
Wow.
to £20 and that as well. It's just like double takes. You get double takes of £7
Yeah.
tench, and yeah, it's mad.
Incredible.
And then one time I hit the
So
shoulder bream, and it was just £7 bream, £7 bream, £7 bream, just one after the other. Yeah,
wow.
it's yeah.
Blimey. I might have to
It's
join.
it's a brilliant club,
That's
like it really is. I'm a member of Prince Albert as well.
yeah.
I haven't
Yeah.
really scratched the
Yeah, me
surface,
too.
to be honest. I joined
Hmm.
last year, and I've got that much going on. I do sea fishing as well, so I've got that much going on that it's hard. So I've kind of put Prince Albert because I was on the waiting list for a few years.
Yeah.
Kind of to the
Great
side.
club. I'm in
Yeah,
it as well. A great
yeah. I've
club,
kind of
yeah.
put it to the side because I don't want to stretch myself. I probably do already too much, but yeah, I will definitely be getting on them with the waters.
Yeah, because there's quite a lot of waters down your way. I know we've got restrictions about what we can and can't talk about with
Yeah,
Prince Albert,
yeah,
but obviously Macclesfield based
yeah,
originally, and you're obviously North
yeah.
Wales, so they're not that far away, are there, a lot of the
No, there's a
waters there.
few.
So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. And yeah, sea fishing as well.
yeah,
I was interested in I've watched obviously quite a few of your
yeah.
videos. I looked at one that you were is it a place called
Mostin, yeah, Mostin
Mostin?
Dock,
Yeah, I don't know the
right.
area. So what's the sort of sea fishing side of things like in your area?
Well, Prestatyn is kind of the start of the D estuary, really. So if you're fishing sort of Prestatyn down towards Talacra, it's mostly like you see your flatfish,
Hmm.
flounders, dabs, and then the bass come through,
Ah,
seasonally. And that's the thing I'm learning a lot about sea fishing at the minute. I've, like I said, did quite a lot in school, but we just used to.
yeah.
It was just a case of lugworm on, chuck it out, and see what happens. But yeah, Mostin itself is it's quite a deep channel there, and it holds some really
Hmm.
good fish. But it's a funny place. It really is. You can go and blank, or you can go and have a great day's fishing. It's. I've
Hmm.
never done fantastic, but I caught my first ever ray last year, and yeah, that was fantastic.
Was that the
Thornback
Thornback
ray,
Ray,
yeah,
was it?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I saw that on one of your video. I'm certainly no sea angler. I've been from time to
yeah,
time. I don't know what the heck I'm
yeah.
doing, but yeah, I recognise it. Looked a cracking
Yeah,
fish. Yeah.
fantastic. I mean, I remember when I was as a kid in Devon and Cornwall, we went to go to Devon, sorry, and I remember they were coming off the boats and they were photographing them all, these big rays, and I
Yeah.
was like, about 11 at the time. I remember thinking, oh, and I've always wanted to catch one, and I'd never really known. It's one of them sea fishing. It's quite it's seasonal for the fish for the first off, and then the weather can have such an impact. And yeah, it's knowing the marks, and
Mm.
they're probably more secretive than the carp anglers. Like I
Blimey.
know,
And pike
yeah,
anglers.
yeah. So yeah, it's good, but it can be challenging. But then there's the rewards. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
superb. And I saw you were also doing some fishing with maggots.
yeah, yeah. I
You
wanted
did
to
a
try
video
that.
of sea fishing with
Yeah, yeah.
maggots. Tell us
Because
about
when you got
that.
like the mini species and wrasse and things are the colours on them, and there's some crazy fish that you would never even believe that are in British waters. Trying to
Mm.
think of something. There's a tadpole fish. I've never caught one. There's loads, but
Wow.
yeah, I wanted to because basically when you're fishing for the minis, ragworm. I mean, a ragworm is long, 10 inches long, so you're cutting bits off. And I
Mm.
thought, a whole live bait that's wriggling, it's got to be attractive. It worked. It definitely worked, but I'm not sure it's any better than just using a piece of ragworm. But it's
Yeah.
yeah,
And were you float
yeah. That was
fishing?
off the. I've done it a couple of times. I've done it off some rocks and also off the what's it called, the and Holyhead, the breakwater. Yeah,
All
off the
right.
breakwater.
Yeah.
And one of my videos, a seal came and it was trying to get the bait.
Oh,
It was swimming around me float. I had to lift it out of the water. Yeah,
blimey.
that was mad. Yeah,
The cheeky little devils. We fished the River Ribble quite a
Right.
lot in winter, and last winter we were fishing, and a seal was right in front of us.
Yeah.
It had travelled up about 20
Yeah, wow.
miles
Yeah.
upstream,
I need to get on the Ribble. That's
chasing
one
the
of
runner.
me. Yeah.
Oh, well, give us a
Yeah.
shout. It's a wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful
Yeah.
river. Wonderful, particularly for the silvers these
Yeah.
days. There's some big nets of
Yeah.
dace
Yeah.
and roach, and
Yeah. Danny, I follow Danny's
the
angling blog, like I think most of us do around here, and
yeah,
he does well, doesn't he? On
yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah. Fish with
Yeah.
Danny
Oh,
from
do
time
you?
to time. Bless him. Yeah, he's yeah, super successful. He's the model for how to get a really great YouTube
Yeah.
channel. I think he's got
Yeah.
about 15,000
Yeah. Yeah.
subscribers now,
He's
hasn't he?
doing well.
Something like that. So yeah, good
Yeah.
angler, very good angler. So yeah, cool. So what's the plans for your channel then? Have you got any
I
particular
just,
plans? Or?
like I said, after the carp fishing, I kind of was just going fishing, and it was just kind of like whatever comes along, rod on the side, And I thought, do you know what? I'm going to look at like my personal bests, and I want to try and up all of my personal bests. Trying new, I've done a bit of fly fishing for the first time. Caught my first fish on a fly.
Oh, well done, brilliant.
Yeah, and I just wanted to try, and I'm traveling as well. I don't know why, but I get nervous. It's not nervous for myself. I don't know. It's like, and I like a good day's fishing. I like to go fishing and think at the end of the day, I've gone fishing. If you're blanking and you're struggling and there's I don't know. I feel like I haven't been fishing. I haven't scratched the itch, if that makes sense. So I'm a bit reluctant to travel and go new places, but that is what's really opened up my fishing. And I think if you want to
Yeah.
catch big fish, if you want your personal best, if you want to do things like that, you've got to travel, because if you're sitting on a lake for forever, the chances of we know roughly what's in there. I think I've always had that magic where there might be a 2-pound roach in this little pond. So it's like the reality is there's not going to be, but yeah. So I realised that I've got to move and stuff, and that's what I've done, and I wanted to sort of document it. That's why I started the channel. I want to.
Right.
I'm learning. I'm like I said, I've fished for nearly 40 years, but I'm learning all the time, every time I go.
That's good. Yeah, same.
I still
Yeah,
feel like a beginner, especially in river fishing and sea fishing and things like that. And it's so it's really that's it's great.
I think that's good. I think that's good learning. I mean, I'm the same. I mean, I've fished for a long time as well, but I like variety, like you seem to. And I mean, I learned to fly fish about 3 years ago, and I absolutely love it. And I'm yet to go out. Obviously, it's the fly season started again now, but sea fishing is another thing that I want to have a go at. I like to have all these different challenges, and whilst you're learning, it's fresh and enjoyable.
It is,
isn't
and it helps
So,
you with your other fishing as well. A lot
it
of
does.
anglers can like pigeonhole themselves, and we can learn a lot. I follow all the the guru podcasts and things like that, and you do learn stuff. The way they, especially with bait, the way they bait up and how they work the swim. There's a lot to learn. But a lot of people think they're better than that, especially carp anglers. I suppose I'm having a dig at. They think they know it all, and it's like you can learn so much, But then it amazed me because I watched a podcast the other day with or their latest video, the underwater one with the guru. And it was brilliant filming that. But they didn't know like Matt Godfrey and what's his name?
Steve Ringer.
And they didn't know the difference between a female and male tench. I was really surprised at that. But the thing with fishing is there's so much that like there's you don't stop learning, And I think if you close your mind, like it's a waste really. And there's just something, and it's nice. Keep it fresh.
Yeah, that's interesting. You say that about different sort of genres. Is that the right word? Of fishing, different kinds of fishing, and I think you're absolutely right. We do get pigeonholed, and people get locked on because they're looking at that underwater footage. They're tried and trusted sort of rigs. They were like, and that's been like the conventional wisdom, hasn't it? Oh, we fish like that, and then it's now like, oh, we can see it's not working. So we do get, you listen to these experts and you think that's the only way of doing it, and experiment and try different things. I mean, I learned from sort of fly fishing about seeing a fly travel downstream, and that helped me stick float fishing because I had to present bait in a way that went with the current. So there's all, and drop shotting, there's a way of putting your rig on
Yeah.
there that can help with ledgering. It's all,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
right. We just get that blinkered
Yeah.
approach. So
Yeah,
that's good.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Short rigs is the one thing I've took from a lot of the underwater footage, the Corda
Ye-
and the Guru. I know, and I mean, there's others. The Matrix have done some, haven't they, with Rob
Yeah.
Hughes? He did that,
Yeah.
and long hook links. To me,
Yeah.
I don't understand long hook links. I really don't, even in the river.
Mm,
And I've done really well.
yeah.
I it was just getting in the way. I was getting tangled in trees and things, and I shortened them up, and I was
Yeah.
catching. And I think I always look at, you shouldn't compare. In a way, what I was thinking. What I'm trying to say is, like, if I'm catching less than everyone else, then I might change.
Mm,
But if I'm catching the same or more, then that's good enough for me. So people laugh at me little
absolutely.
1.5 foot hook links, but catching and your barbel and, like,
If
I
if they
yeah,
work,
yeah,
yeah, you're right. It's funny how we get down these sort of rabbit holes, don't we? Because I used to, my most successful barbel fishing, I was using the pre-tied 15-inch Guru,
yeah,
pre-tied
yeah,
rigs. And then for some reason I started fishing longer
yeah,
rigs, and instead of using these little pellets that I was catching on, I was getting into bigger baits like boilies and all this. And my catch rate went
yeah,
down. I'm like, and sometimes you just get locked into a way of thinking, and
yeah,
it's and should be more open-minded and
yeah,
experiment.
yeah, definitely, definitely.
And yeah, the short hook links, it was fascinating watching that, because they were like, yeah, I expect it. Danny Fairbrass, he was like, well, hang on, to pick it, they're getting away
Yeah,
with it every time, and he's obviously gone through that with his
yeah.
kite fishing. So
I mean, in a
yeah,
river,
really
you can get away with the longer ones because you get the separation, because the flow
yeah,
will thingy. And sea fishing as well, they usually call them flapper
yeah,
rigs, and the bait is
yeah,
moving in the current, and that's
yep,
attractive to the fish as well. It helps to get release scent, I suppose, from the bait and things. So yeah,
yeah.
you can use longer ones, but I mean, in my carp fishing, tench fishing, bream fishing, that type of thing, I'm using. I basically use a PVA bag rig that length, and I
Ah,
fish it
right, okay,
helicopter style. And that's just
yep.
done me, and I've caught more carp or 20-pound carp since I stopped fishing for carp. And I've gone, like, down the route of, because that's why I called the channel "Fishing for Bites" with Mo, is because that's what I do now.
Okay,
I'm not really. I don't. I do it, and sometimes it happens because even if you don't want it to, but I can't fish a bite for 24 hours. It bores me to
no,
tears.
oh,
I've
yeah,
got 3 children at home, a wife, and everything. I go out once a week. I want it to count. I want to hear the alarms. I want to see the float, all the rest of it. So that's what I do, a fish about.
yeah,
And since I've done that and using more natural baits, I've caught more carp, more 20-pound carp than using boilies. Yeah,
yeah. I've sort of had a similar thing. I do carp fish from
yeah,
time to time, but I've caught my biggest fish on method
yeah, yeah,
feeder. Size 14 hook,
yeah,
16. I've caught 25-pound
yeah,
carp, and it's just blows your mind. Other people have been sat out with rods, 2 or 3 rods out with a
yeah,
pop up and a snowman rig and not getting
yeah.
anything. But they get wise to it, don't they? The fish get
Yeah,
wise to it, I think.
yeah,
And
they do, and I think as well, it's quite.
something,
I don't know how I haven't sort of noticed this in the past, but in the last couple of years, I've really noticed that the feeding response from fish and building the swim, how it works. I mean, we went to the
mm,
Edinburgh Zoo and there was some carp in a little pool, and the wife
mm.
was going mad. But I got a tiny little piece of the bread off one of our buddies because you're not allowed to. And I just, but it was literally this big, and I threw it in the water, and
Yeah,
one of the crumbs fell down, and I watched the carp take it, and as it took it, all the other carp just switched on and went mad. They're
wow,
sending out a
wow.
signal, and I've seen it on the river
Yeah,
where I've spilt some maggots in the edge, and then I'm there fishing away, doing what I'm doing, and I've looked down,
mm,
and there's just a swarm of fish, and it's like when one or two are fed, it brings them in.
yeah,
When you can't fish, you're always trying to be dead quiet, set the traps and stuff.
yeah,
But how many times when you're fishing for small fish and you're making a noise, dun dun dun, constant, and your bait's going out and the float's hitting the water or a method feeder, and then bang, they
yep,
always come. It's like they can't
yeah,
resist it, can they? So
that's it.
yeah,
Yeah, ring it dinner
yeah,
bell, isn't
being
it?
more
Really?
active and
Yeah.
stuff, I think, is, you know, But
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I still do that. I'm like, be dead quiet, don't move. Let, yeah,
Same. I must admit, I was brought up on canal fishing, so like we used to, if it made a noise, you get a clip round the ear roll off the older ones. So like when I go to commercials and things, which is quite rare, and there's all sorts of noise and shouting and bawling going on, I'm like, blimey,
yeah,
but they're not bothered. Fish are kind of used to
yeah,
it. They get used
yeah.
to it,
I mean,
don't they?
commercials
So,
is a different thing. Again, they're hungry fish, aren't they?
yeah,
I think they
they
weigh
are.
up the odds of like the risk of getting caught over eating. It's. I don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. I do fish some commercials, and I now and again, especially for the like come and go around winter when you're struggling and you just need a thing. And the species hunt that I do as well now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was going to ask you
yeah,
about that, your species
yeah.
hunt. So tell me about that then. So that
Oh,
sounds a lot of
it's
fun.
it's something I wish I'd never started in a way. It can be
Oh,
it can be so frustrating. But
yeah.
yeah, last year was the first year I tried it. I just thought, let's see how many I can catch in. I always like to do it in a session. Some of my best sessions are when you're just catching different things. You never know what's coming next. I love that. And I thought, I wonder how
Mm.
many I can get in a year. So having never done it before, I was thinking 50 would be fantastic, would be a real good result. Anyway, I think I got
Mm.
39, but it was crazy. A
Wow.
couple of the ones that I thought would be guaranteed because I live by the River Allen and it's full of
All right. Yeah.
brown trout and grayling and
Yeah.
minnows. And I thought brown trout, take me half an hour, walk down the road, one rod. Anyway, I catch one? No, they just seem to disappear. It's happened with the grayling, and only fish it maybe once or twice a year. But it
Yeah.
happened. They do tend to move off. So yeah, so brown trout couldn't catch an eyed, another local water where I thought I'd catch an eyed in half an hour, and those two fish took me
Yeah.
weeks. So it doesn't make
It's
yeah,
weird,
it
isn't
doesn't
it?
make good viewing for the YouTube channel if you like. But the buzz when you get the fish is really is good, especially on the sea fishing. I fished Mostin one time. You basically fish 2 hours either side of the tide. So you
Right.
can't
Okay.
just
Yeah.
rock up like any time. You
Yeah.
go 2 hours before low and fish it 2 hours after, or you do the other way 2 hours before high tide and 2 hours after. Because otherwise the current run is you can't hold bottom. You need
Ah,
like
really?
you need you can't. You'd need an anchor to hold the bottom. The current is
Oh,
it's treacherous. Um,
God.
but yeah, so the um yeah, I'd gone down there and I fished 4 hours solid, and then when I wound in at the end, there was a tiny little weaver fish on the end, and it just
A weaver?
made
Oh.
my day.
Are they not
Yeah,
poisonous?
yes, but really,
Yeah.
yeah, really, and apparently it's really painful. They got
Oh.
and they live in the edges of the tide, so yeah, it's amazing.
Ah,
More
right.
people don't actually because they're quite a lot in the like that down the North Wales coast. Yeah, but that was
Yeah,
the thing.
yeah.
It can turn just that one little fish turns
Yeah.
turn the session around like so. It's like a blessing and a curse doing it, really.
Yeah, yeah. So have you got like a list of you tick them all off or something? Is it done online or you just do it
I've just done it
yourself? Because I know
myself.
there's
There's
some.
loads of different ones. It's
Yeah,
actually quite popular. A
yeah.
lot of them do it where they'll only do it where they have to be caught by a law, you know,
Oh, ooh,
or
blimey,
there's
right.
there's one where the River Dee, it has to be caught from the River Dee from source to thingy. So yeah,
Wow.
it can be sea fish, game fish, coarse fish. So there's
Yeah,
loads and some do prizes and stuff. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's good.
So that sounds
It
interesting,
is
that,
good.
yeah. So I know I saw you a picture of a catfish recently.
Excuse me. That
Did you
was
ever?
this weekend just gone. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, so where was that from then?
Lim
Is
have
it an
got a
undisclosed?
few catfish in their waters.
Right,
Some
right.
people love them, some people hate them. They seem
I've never caught one, you
yeah,
see. That's why I'm
yeah,
intrigued.
yeah.
I've never caught
Well,
one.
my first ever one was when lockdown, when we were allowed to do nights again. It was like on the
Yeah.
Monday you could start night fishing, and I'd booked on to do the night because they have a booking system for some of the waters. And on the
Ah,
Sunday,
mm,
I had the kids, the wife was working, so I thought, you know what, I'm going to go to. I'll go if I don't, day session. Didn't expect to catch anything. It was in March, and I
mm.
thought I'll put bait in for tomorrow if nothing else. So dragged the three
Yeah.
girls down there. We had an 18-pound mirror, cracking fish, and that was I'd put a
Fantastic.
little bit of pepper army, which is one of my favourite baits.
It's a
It's a
good bet.
brilliant bait. It really is.
It
Yeah,
is.
if you go in non-natural, pepper army is my next one.
Yeah, yeah. I've always got one in my
Yeah, yeah,
bag.
fantastic.
Yeah, yeah,
So I put a little
yeah.
pepper army out thinking, might get a small catfish and a citrus pop up 12 mil. Well, the £18 mirror had the pepperami. Next thing you know, the citrus pop-up goes, and I hooked into it. I said to the girl, I said, "Oh, this feels a bit bigger, this." But it'd gone under the other rod. So as I'm putting it under the rod, I realised the whole time it was just zzz going. I said, "Girl, this is a big fish." Anyway, £47 catfish. My first ever one, yeah.
Whoa! On a
Yeah,
citrus pop-up?
3 o'clock in the afternoon, citrus
Oh,
pop-up,
great.
hooked in the bottom. I was like, yeah.
God, great.
So,
Well
yeah.
done.
Kids did the
Blimey.
photos, so
That's
they're not the best. But
wow, that's
yeah,
amazing.
fantastic. They do. I mean, I think I was lucky with that one. I think catching it early in the year before they're a bit slower. I think the fight, I think with
Ah.
I was on 2.5 test curve rods. I don't know. I don't know if I would have landed it. I don't know. Who knows? But yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're meant to be the hardest I've never caught one, you see, that's
Yeah.
what intrigues me, how
Yeah, they
hard
do
they do
fight.
fight.
Yeah, they do. They do. They
Yeah,
really fight. I've had the two I've just had. I had a 15 and a 21 this weekend, and yeah, the 21. I mean, you just can't get them up. They're just powering off, and
just
yeah,
yeah,
really good fun. Hard to handle on the bank, and but
yeah,
yeah, I love them.
that's gotta be yeah, it's gotta be on my target
Yeah,
list, yeah,
definitely.
so have you got what fish haven't you caught that you want to
A
catch? Have you
zander.
got,
Yeah, a
yeah, I've
zander
not caught
and
one
a
either.
sturgeon. I mean, I don't know about, I'm not overly fussed about sturgeon. It'd be good for the species hunt. But a zander,
Mm,
I think they're really impressive fish.
yeah, they
Really
are, yeah.
impressive.
Again, I've not caught one, that's again on my
Yeah,
list that I've,
yeah,
they just, I don't know the furthest north they get here, it's quite a way down, isn't it? More sort of
yeah.
Midlands,
The mid seven, yeah,
mid-7 and
and the
lower
lower
7, I
seven,
think,
yeah,
aren't they?
and
Yeah.
the canals around Birmingham, yeah,
Yeah,
the
Coventry
Union,
Canal, I
yeah,
heard, so
yeah. There's quite a few there, and I need to. It's just a bit of a long way for the day. I don't know, I have to try and work out
mm,
something, stay over, and maybe get a couple of sessions in. But yeah, zander
yeah,
definitely. Uh,
yeah. What did you catch it on lure or baits? Have you got
I
a
mean, lure fishing's
preference? Just anything?
another game entirely, isn't it? It's
Mm,
there's so much to lure fishing. I've tried, and I find it very difficult. But I think you need to work at it. It's another
yeah,
skill. But yeah, I mean, um, yeah, I'd be happy to catch one. To be honest, yeah,
yeah,
bait fishing's my
yeah,
preferred method. Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. Yeah,
Yeah, it sounds good. Sounds yeah. Yeah. I think I'd done a bit of research and thought the Coventry Canal. I don't know if this is still as popular because some of the places they say you got to sort of kill them. Don't you?
yeah.
They're like regarded as an invasive species. I wouldn't. Well, I wouldn't personally do that. They'd be going back in,
Yeah,
but
I think that's why they're not talked about as well too much because the
mm,
people don't want the EA coming to take them out. On one of the
yeah,
club waters,
yeah,
I can't mention it, but I went
mm,
down there. I'd been told there was loads in there, and I didn't get one. So, but like I said,
mm,
it's yeah, people they don't talk about it because they don't want the
no,
attention.
yeah,
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
no. And yeah, I saw you'd done quite a few trips to the Severn. Again, one
yeah.
of my
Oh,
favourite
The-
spots.
do you know it's so funny because I think last year I fished it for the first time and it was so I couldn't go wrong. I felt when you feel like you've just found something that no one else knows about. I was
Yeah.
like, oh my god, why is there no one here? I was like literally I think 4 or 5 sessions in a row didn't see a person,
Wow.
anybody, and
Yeah.
then even now I think I've only seen a couple of people. So
Yep.
last year, yeah, I couldn't go wrong. Every time I went, I come away with a PB. And then this year, I have not caught one fish from there. Just complete reverse. But the
'Cause I
conditions
saw y yeah,
have been totally
yeah,
different, haven't they?
been
Yeah,
horrendous, haven't they?
yeah. But yeah, last year I went down pike fishing at first. I had one that I think was about £17 now, and I didn't have my
Right.
scales. Now I take my scales everywhere with me, and this one day,
It's
again, because I do
it's odds
everything,
low,
you
isn't it?
move your stuff from your sea fishing
Yeah.
and I didn't have scales, and I was in bits because this fish I thought it might have been a £20 pike, and
Ah,
yeah, anyway, released it, and then I went back the week after and caught a £21 pike, and I actually
wow,
had my
superb.
scales and weighed it, so that's how I now yards using that yards. I reckon it was
Yeah.
probably about 17.
Yeah,
Can't remember the
fantastic.
measurements now, but I think the first one was a meter and the second one was about a meter and 5 or 10 centimeters. But yeah,
Superb,
yeah,
yeah.
fantastic. And then the barbel fishing, couldn't go wrong. And every time I went, I was like, I think it's 7.5, then I went 8, then 8.5, then 9. So, so it's just like really good. And then this year, not a single bite.
It's
Yeah,
strange, isn't it? Really, really
yeah,
strange. Similar thing that the barbel on the stretches that I fish over the last few years have just sort of seems to be after that. There was a really hot
yeah,
summer, and it's a theory, but I don't know whether these were they got stuck in the pools and they got ottered.
right. Yeah,
Because there was less
yeah,
water in,
yeah,
and they were kind of isolated in these things. But they've definitely gone down and down and down in numbers. I used to regularly catch
right.
barbel, and now it can be a struggle,
Yeah,
really.
I didn't last year.
Um,
I didn't really struggle last year. I did see an otter
mm,
on the, excuse me, on the river. I was
yeah,
fishing, it was completely dark, and then I heard this noise. I put the head torch on and see these eyes looking at me and swam
yeah,
right up the middle of the river. But yeah, I still, I'll be back when the June 16th or just after. I'll be back, and I love it. It's
yeah,
such an amazing place to fish, and you never know
yeah.
what's coming next with rivers. Bit like canals,
True.
it's I do love the canal fishing, although I find that very difficult, to be honest. In the Shropshire,
Yeah,
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 just very hit and miss. Yeah,
yeah. I think it's finding them,
yeah,
isn't it? Really, depending on the time of year. I think if you're fishing in, I mean, I've sort of rekindled my interest in canals this last year.
yeah,
Really, I'm surprised how many times I went, but it's finding the spots because it's a bit like you mentioned about rivers. There's nobody fishing these canals. There's
no,
lure
yeah,
anglers,
yeah,
you'll see them, but you've got like miles of
yeah,
fishing without anybody
yeah,
on it, and same with the rivers, even on the club waters that are
yeah,
popular. I think because they're awkward, aren't the
yeah,
rivers? As well. The steep banks,
yeah,
the tricky access sometimes, and it puts
yeah,
people off. But
yeah. It can be dangerous, and it's a 2-hour round trip for me to the Severn. So
yeah,
it's if you get there and it's like the flood war, but people do catch. I sort of disappointed and never going, and then I'm watching all these channels, floodwater, barbel, and I'm like, oh, but I think,
best time to catch the barbel.
yeah, yeah, you've got to know the spots though, haven't you? And you've got to know what you're
Yeah,
fishing. I think the sections I know what you're fishing on isn't really fishable. Like brambles and reeds,
yeah,
rushes. You can't really just put your bait on top of them. You need
yeah,
somewhere with a nice big slack, I suppose. But yeah, that
yeah,
traveling. But again, I'll do a bit more of that, and
yeah, yeah.
yeah, try and get to know it a bit more.
I think that's the secret, isn't it? It does take a while to get used to places. I'm saying the Seven. I just do an annual
Right.
trip and get down to
Yeah.
Shrewsbury and I stay over a couple of
Right.
nights and sort of learn those stretches. But it does take you a while to suss out these
Yeah.
areas. And then I went down a couple of years ago and it was in flood. It was about 2 meters on, but I knew the pegs and I
Right.
knew where I could potentially catch them. And so yeah, it's I suppose I've got a little bit of a wuss recently. I'm like, oh, it's too high that I'll stop in, stop at home instead of getting on banking all sorts of
Yeah.
weathers. But yeah, good. So you fishing this week? Have you got another trip lined up?
Yeah, I've been stitched up this weekend. The wife's taking the
Oh,
kids, but then she's only taken 2 of them now. But I realised I
oh,
was stitched up with the pets anyway because I thought I've got 3 nights, which is really rare for me. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. I may be sea fishing. I'll have a look at the tides and yeah, and
yeah.
work it out from there because the summer species are coming in now. So the likes of on the
Ah,
breakwater,
right.
you can go and you can catch all sorts when they come in, all the
Ah,
wrasse and whatnot. So yeah,
fantastic. Yeah, rast on the
yeah.
rocks. I fancy having a go at
They
that.
fight so
Lovely
hard.
fish.
Yeah, oh, they
Do they?
really
Yeah.
do. Really, really pull, and you've got to hit the bites quick because they try and
Yeah.
take you into whatever the rocks or the weed that they're living over. But yeah,
Ah.
yeah,
Hmm.
really good fishing, and they're stunning colours as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Is it a Ballon
Ballan
wrasse
wrasse,
and
yeah,
is it
cork wing
cooker?
wrasse, yeah, yeah.
Cork
There's a,
wing,
there's a
yeah.
few, yeah, yeah,
Superb, yeah. I'm itching to have a go at sea fishing now. I've got more. I mean, you can see a few of the bloody rods.
right,
I'm sure, like just more gear, isn't it? It's like, oh, sea fishing is like the final
yeah,
thing that I haven't got. I've
right,
got about 40 other rods, but sea fishing's the
yeah.
thing. But
I do
yeah,
want to get on Limb
maybe
Vale,
if
to be honest, but it's with it being a
yeah,
relatively deeper pool. I think it's a bit
yeah,
early for the tench. It's not warmed up as much as some of the shallower pools. So,
mm,
yeah, that is the plan to try and get on there quite a bit this year. There's a catfish in there. There's
yeah.
£100 as well.
Is
Yeah,
there?
it's been growing
Good
steadily, and I
grief!
think it did the 100 last year. It was 80, then it was
Good
in the
grief!
90s, and yeah, I think there's a couple
Wow,
of
I
backup
didn't realise.
60s as well in there. So big fish, like Yeah, and them nuisance carp are in there as well. Some nice ones.
How big do they run to in there then?
Get a shot for saying that on here.
Oh, should we?
No, I think
Yeah, we will. Yeah,
no, 30s, low 30s,
yeah,
yeah. There's
yeah.
quite a few 20s in there, but yeah,
Right.
it's a fascinating water.
Yeah, it looks
Yeah,
beautiful. I must admit, never seen it, but I've seen I've seen videos of it, and obviously your videos, and I think Danny's been on
yeah,
there as well, so it looks
yeah.
cracking. So fantastic, mate. Well, thanks for
No
coming on and
problem.
having a chat. It's been really great
Yeah,
to hear all your stories about fishing and your
yeah.
background and
It's
whatnot.
nice for
So
someone to
I
listen to
wish
me
you
because
well.
not many people do. The wife doesn't anyway. So,
I love it. I could talk probably like you could talk about fishing
yeah.
forever. I never get bored of it. I
It's like
absolutely love it.
therapy, I
So
think. I think that's one of the parts of doing the channel. I like to talk back what
yeah,
I've been doing, and I just like you get it off your chest
yeah,
and things. I think it's definitely a part of it. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Definitely, yeah. I see that on yours. You do a bit of a summary at the
yeah.
end, don't you?
What?
And
Yeah,
yeah,
trying
yeah,
like what I've learned and things. I try and vary it up. It's difficult, isn't it? Because so
yeah,
many people are doing them, but
yeah,
it's not for
yeah.
money. Obviously, I don't make anything off it because we need a
No,
thousand
same. No,
subscribers,
no.
don't you? So and
Yep,
even then,
yep.
it's definitely not about money. Yeah,
No.
yeah, it's just nice sharing, And I think I
Yeah,
made a few friends now, and they've helped me, and I
yeah,
like to think I've helped people, Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
so yeah.
Superb. Well, it's a cracking channel
Oh,
you've
thank
got. I
you.
will put a link in the description as well, and continue to follow your
Brilliant.
videos. And yeah, I want to say thanks so much for
Oh,
coming on
thanks.
and taking part in the
Thanks for having me.
podcast. And hopefully we'll keep in
Yeah,
touch
yeah.
and maybe have a day on the
Yeah, we'll
bank
have to get on the
sometime.
ribble. I want a
Anytime,
perch. I
mate.
want a big perch. I'm dying for one.
A big
Yeah,
perch. I'll put you
yeah.
on them. Don't tell anybody. We
Yeah,
can't say on here, but
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, we'll put
Oh,
you on them.
brilliant.
Nice
Yeah.
one, mate. Thanks so
Cheers,
much,
Mark.
Maurice. All the
And you,
best.
mate.
Much
Bye now.
appreciated. Thank
Cheers.
you. Bye.